Hello, Just Jax here and welcome to my channel. Today, as far as Christmassy goodness goes, we're going to do some more homemade, if I've put them up in the right order anyway, homemade Christmas tree decorations. Very cheap. We got cookie cutters, but you can cut them freehand. We might even try and do some with the scissors or a knife. Bread Christmas tree decorations. Now this is going to sound a little odd if you've never tried these before. I have done these in the past, a long time ago now, and the first time I tried them I was surprised that they worked. But they did, and lasted. Some people who I did these with have had them for I think 3 years now, and they're still going strong. So all you really need for these: paint, glue, glitter, decoration optional, is cookie cutters, a straw ideally, because this makes the whole bit for the dangle even easier, some string or ribbon, up to you, and some old bread. And all we're going to do is cut out a load of different shapes, pop a hole in them so we can thread the string, ribbon, wool, whatever you choose, so they can hang. And then we're just going to leave them to dry out and go stale. And you'll see come the end of the video that these come out pretty cool for just a bit of leftover bread. So if you haven't got some bread that's on the verge of being no good anymore, you can just get literally the cheapest loaf, half loaf that you can find. So let's just do this. Now, I know a flower isn't necessarily very Christmassy, but I thought, well, I don't have a snowflake, I can paint a snowflake on it. So we're just going to get a load of these done. And then I have a dehumidifier running in the front room. Now, I haven't got a bigger star than this, so these stars might be a bit small. So that'll encourage the drying out process. If you don't have a dehumidifier running, don't worry. When I first did these, I did them in a room with no dehumidifier. Just pick the driest room in your house, and they will dry out naturally. Like what happens if you leave a piece of bread out. It dries, it goes rock hard. Now, this is where the straw comes in. We're just going to go around and get our little hangy spots put through. Alright, we're just going to let them all go stale now. When we come back, you'll see how hard they are, and we will decorate them. We'll paint them, we'll use whatever we've got laying around. We have considerably fewer bread decorations than we started out with. My lovely little girl, young Marley, which I'll pop a picture up somewhere on screen, gorgeous, beautiful, sweet, innocent Marley, thought I'd left her a tray of treats down. Now I'm going with this being the most innocent and not she thought she'd just be an opportunist. Part my doing, but I did have confidence in her. I'd left these on the floor behind the dehumidifier, and she had not bothered with them for the first 24 hours. A further about 12 hours after that, I caught her snacking on a few of the creations. So, about a week later, they're totally stale and they're good to decorate. So, we're just going to paint them all white to begin with. Acrylic works best. I'm just going to do a bit on camera and then we'll flash forward because this is going to be a lot of whitening up. The paint takes pretty well. And it doesn't matter if you don't get it in all the nooks and crannies. But do as much as you can. And because it's bread, you haven't got to worry about it being all smooth. So you can, you don't have to go all in one direction with that paintbrush. You can just swirl it around and let it go in all the nooks and crannies. Kind of like stenciling. And we're going to do front and back. And you can add a bit of water to the paint if you want, but try not to add too much because you're just going to rehydrate your stale bread. Now this paint's acrylic is going to dry quick. I don't think I've ever tried poster paints in the past, which are cheaper. And you can, what you can do is you can get away, that is a cheaper option actually, you can get away with poster paints if you mix them with a little bit of PVA glue, because that will also seal it as they're going, so you won't have to do an end seal. So that is a cheap option since we're trying to keep this as a cheap. I don't have any poster paints, so I'm not a terribly big fan of them, so I can't make any up to show you, but if I remember when I go to the shops next time, I will pick up whatever the cheapest poster paints are that I can find. And we can give them a test. So I'll perhaps leave those two over there for the cheap test. But you can get, on that note, you can get really cheap acrylics, which would work just fine. In fact, I'll whip those out as well in a second, and we'll save half the stars for the cheap acrylics. We'll make it fair. Half the stars and one of the presents. There we go. And the cheap acrylics are less than £2 for, I think it's 12. We'll get them out and have a check in a second. So that's all we're going to do. Flash forward to all of those being done. And the cheap acrylics are less than £2 for 12. In fact, we'll do. Is that white? That is white handy. We'll get one of those out now. One of these little stars. So this little party down here will be cheap acrylics. These will be, they're not expensive, but they're more expensive than the cheap ones. And these I will write down on my wall here, my papered wall, not literally on the wall. Poster paints. Cheapest I can find. And we'll mix them with glue. These are all nice and dry. These are the slightly more expensive, cheap / expensive compared to the cheap acrylics. Fine. These are the really cheap ones. Also fine. And these ones haven't been done yet because I was trying to find the cheapest poster paint possible from the shops. This was harder than it seemed. Now, the cheapest I could find, well, there were two. There were some 250ml bottles at 69p, a steel, but they only had blue and yellow. No, green and yellow. Green and blue? They only had two colours. So, oddly enough, these were the next cheapest at £3 for 6. And there was no white wherever I went. So we're not going to be whiting them up. We're just going to go straight on with colour. They can be rainbow gingerbread men. So let's have a look. I've never played with Play-Doh paint before. I didn't even know Play-Doh did paint. Play-Doh washable paint. So it is technically poster paint. I mean, they're all lovely colours. We got a red, orange, blue, purple, green, and yellow. So we'll put them as an experiment. Let's do one first. We will go for putting them outright on one and then mixing them with PVA glue for the other one. What's our initial impressions? Yeah, it looks like poster paint. Goes on like poster paint. Actually, it's going on pretty well. Shout out as it stands anyway to Play-Doh. They've made a pretty decent, relatively cheap anyway, for what you get. Well, for experiment's sake, we will mix up a tiny bit with some glue. Let me just get some scrap card to work off of. See what we get. We'll start out with orange for that guy. It's quite thick. So let's see how this goes. Again, really nice. Quite colourful. Yeah, they ain't breaking. We just go simple little snowflake of such. We will do the other side. We'll come back to the little present. Let's green up the tree. So this is what we're going to do. Paint up all our lovely little bready creations. So flash forward to paint being done. Our bready Christmas tree decorations are so nearly done. We're just going to add a couple of teeny tiny finishing touches because we started two in places. So we'll add our finishing touches and then we'll talk about our results. So with this one and this one, I want to add a ribbon. Now if I remember to do this right, you can do this with a fork. Now we've got to start in the middle. And it's over, under, over, under. Bring that all down. So we're like weaving. And then what we're going to do is send the top one through the bottom, and then tie it off. And when we slide this off, we should have a cute little ribbon. We'll let that stand up there for a second, propped against something so he stands upright. Let that dry. And this guy, I don't know whether to pop this a little, give it a nice little trim like that. What about the white? White doesn't really stand out. We'll go with the black. And also, we'll hang that up there for a second just to dry. Right, and the only other ribbon bit that I was going to do was for our little wreath. You know, our super long dangly one. We'll glue that on and then we may as well trim these bits now. That one's fine. Yeah, that one's fine. This can be a super long dangly one. What bits did I add anything to? This, I just got a little piece of thread and cut out a little gift tag. So we'll just write on there gift. Now, we will finish these stars here, which I'm just putting a very simple little smiley face on these ones. These are smiley stars. Let's go in and have a look and a chat about our stale bread Christmas tree decorations. And we'll have a chat about the Play-Doh paints as well. So we'll just have a little pan across there. Right. Let's start with, move him over there. These two were the Play-Doh paints. They were very much like poster paints. They made the bread super soggy again because they rehydrated our stale bread because they were so wet. But they have since dried out again just fine. And they come in really bold colours. That's a really cute little rainbow gingerbread man. So that's another option. This guy, I've decided that this is a sunburnt gingerbread man because I didn't really know what I was doing when I was doing this one. That's why he's got sunglasses on and a bit of a shocked look on his face. And a rather red splodgy midriff chest. He must have had socks and gloves on for some reason, or he put suntan lotion there. That was the Play-Doh paint mixed with PVA glue. It did not go anywhere near as soggy as just putting it straight on. So, and it didn't affect the colour. If anything, yeah, it just didn't affect the colour. And it's given it some protection. These ones, well, this one here hasn't been protected. So you could cover that in PVA glue. Or, I'm losing my voice. Or just mix it with the PVA glue as you go in, and then you won't need to. So that's those guys. These little stars here. Oh yes, this was also, I painted this white. Oh my days, my voice. Sorry everybody. I painted this one white with regular acrylics, and then I went over it with the red Play-Doh paint. And it's quite washy. So it's not like, that's the regular red paint that's gone over. I think you can see the subtle difference. It's a little bit more shiny as well. And again, this wasn't mixed with PVA glue. I guess that's just the different effects. Straight on the bread, quite matte. On white acrylic, a bit more gloss. These little stars here were just done with the cheap acrylics. That's a 12 pack for less than £2. And a little permanent marker smiley face. Just to give them a little something. Then over here we have our experimental. This one may as well slip in there as well. Just cut. We didn't have any cookie cutters for these guys. We just cut some bread out with a pair of scissors. And these two are using the crust end. So you can use the crust end as well. It doesn't just have to be the mid slices. So whatever bread you've got left that needs to be used up or thrown away, get some cookie cutters or a pair of scissors or a knife, or even just tear it. That might have quite an interesting effect. I mean, it's bread after all, so it's not going to be too hard to tear. So yeah, these have all come up rather nice. Like I say, we've got a sweet little adornment on this. Little gift, just so you know it's a present. I put the stripes on with a permanent marker. Don't need to be perfect. Just gave it a little something. This one's the one with a little cute little bow on top. And this one's our rather snazzy metallic with black ribbon. So the snowflake, it's a snowflake. It's probably the simplest of the lot next to what we didn't know what we were doing up there. But again, effective, just white background, little metallic blue. Lovely. The snowman's pretty cool. I quite like the snowman. Though this side his face went a little, his carrots. I think he's starting to melt this side. This side he's quite fresh. This side he's starting to melt and everything's drooping down. So these ones all over this side were just acrylics. With a little bit of detail and marker here or there. Our little Christmas tree. How cute is that? Now this little gingerbread man, I put a silver face on him that side, and the poor devil, look at him, his face is, girl's hairs, his face is something. I like the texture you get left with the bread. He's kind of like a moon surface, you know, he's all cratery. So this side, much better. I did roll up a couple of little bits of the random bread trimmings that were left to stick some little details on. So I just slapped a layer of PVA glue down, stuck them on, and then blobbed some PVA glue over the top. But that's pretty cool. I like that. I like that he doesn't have a mouth. It's just simple. Our little wreath. Now, that was white in the centre there, and I tried to do permanent marker and write Merry Christmas. It looked indecipherable. So I cut out a little piece of paper the same shape and wrote Merry Christmas on there. So we're going to have a wreath on the one side. A wreath, a bow on the one side. But yeah, how cool do those bows come out? Just for a little bit of like weaving around a fork. That's a really cool trick. Our other gingerbread man, I gave him a little bow tie. Again, this one was quite simple as well. Just painted yellowy gold. And I used a cotton bud to put his details on with. So I just, you know, got a cotton bud, dipped it in the paint and went dot, 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 dot. So yeah, effective. The candy cane. This is the chunkiest one of the lot. Tried to do it, because it's always tricky, I find anyway, when I'm painting a candy cane, it comes to the arc bit, because obviously it all crunches in a little bit. So we're a little crunched in under there, but it still looks cool. And these are really, really solid. Like, they can withstand quite a bit. So, oh yes, and just simple stars. Just painted with the acrylics. Little gold stars, little yellow stars. Well, let's just flip that round to being the good side. They are rather cute and will make for a very fun project, especially if you've got kids, or even if you just like to make homemade stuff. Leftover bread doesn't have to go to waste. You can turn it into art. I will keep these in an airtight container and see if they last till next year. So there we go. Our lovely, cheap, easy to do, fun for the whole family, arty or not, homemade Christmas tree decorations. They're pretty cool. They're going to be something different. It's a project that you can do with the kiddies as well. Like I say, or just yourself. And it's definitely going to be a talking point because, well, it may or may not. It depends how much people pay attention to your tree. But then no one's going to know these are made out of bread unless you tell them. Because who's going to guess that you can make a Christmas tree decoration out of bread? Not many people. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you give it a go. Let me know if you like it. So, oh yeah, on that, Like if you like what you see, comment if you've got something to say, and subscribe if you really like what you see and you want to see more and know when it's coming. Thank you all again so much. Take care and see you in the next one.